Willis Farnsworth's story is a triumphant one. A story of tragedy, onslaught, and enlightenment. He was born into a family where his parents were mercenaries for the United States government, intervening in the ivory tusk trade throughout the African continent. They kept a little piece they could between tribes ruled by famine and fear. While on a mission, his mother, Rosalinda, abandoned him on the rice paddy farm in the desolate wasteland 65 miles south of Niger, Africa. They had left him alone, unsheltered, and scared, with nothing more than a heavily deflated singular Kenchwa bill pinned to his collar and the clothes on his back. Willis was forced to make do with his unfortunate situation, learning the language, customs, and befriending the local tribesmen. Due to these experiences, Willis quickly learned how to utilize language for his benefit and was rallied a hero. Years later, he would be put into another oddly similar situation in which his speech skills would be called upon once again to save Earth Realm. He thought he'd left those days behind him. He prayed this day would never come. In the spring of 2010, Willis first graced the speech and debate team with his timeless quirk and charisma, competing nationally with his then ADS speech on circumcision. Yes. Since then, Willis has competed in impromptu, extemporaneous, program oral interpretation, duo interpretation, and after-dinner speaking. An after-dinner speech, which he will be performing for you today, simply put, is a speech given to entertain the audience. So, without any further ado, get ready to be entertained.
Getting to a speech tournament is no easy task. I'm given two options. Either get in a van with my annoying teammates for hours to forbidden cities like Kearney, Nebraska, or Peoria, Illinois, or Stockton, California. Just when you think it couldn't get any worse than Oroville, there's Stockton. Just kidding. Nothing's worse than Oroville. So it was either that, or I take a plane. And I chose the latter. And when my teammates found out, they expressed their opposition by crushing a whole bottle of laxative pills and mixing it with my lunch. The lunch I would eat on the way to the airport. As if my irritable bowels weren't enough of a problem. For some reason, I still can't find the strength to laugh at that. Now, at first, I thought airport security was going just fine and dandy, and I even got to go through one of those new nifty TSA screeners. But it was at this point that I realized that I was brewing a dirty bomb. A bomb of such magnitudes that not even Al-Qaeda would claim responsibility. I was then instantly pulled aside by Scooter, the flamboyant TSA agent. Where he inappropriately stated, "It is not my business to touch yours." Then at that moment that I looked up at the TV monitor and saw a rerun of George Lopez Tonight. He interviewed Khloe Kardashian on December 6, 2010, and she states about these new screening measures that it's like having sex in public. Now, Khloe Kardashian, an expert at having sex in public, further states that she was given two options: to either get felt up or to get screened. And I put the two and two together, and I come to the conclusion that, well, this is violating our constitutional rights as Americans. We need to stand up for ourselves, and we're going to keep opening up the doors to terrorists like Khloe Kardashian and other large Albanian men. Now, I know what you guys are expecting me to do, some really cliche transitions, so like, we're gonna shoot up some steroids to take a look at the problems, but no, not for me, not today. Instead, I'm gonna walk us through airport security as we take a look at the problems, causes, and solutions. So please join in with me as we kick off our shoes and head on over to our problems. The problems are attributed to two. The fact that, well, we either get our X-rated spots X-rated, or we get our touchy spots touched. Obviously, grow up. This is not okay. In fact, according to the Wired article from November 8, 2010, it states that John Tyner, software programmer and graphic engineer, voiced his opposition to these screening methods when he was pulled to the side and told he was going to be given a groin check. It went a little something like this. I'm going to place one hand on your hip and one hand on your inner thigh, and slowly slide up, and slowly slide back. Go on. It was then, at this moment, that John Tyner replied, "But if you touch my junk, I'm going to have you arrested." Now, the fact of the matter is that this isn't the only case of violations happening. In fact, according to an ABC report from December 2010, appropriately titled "3 Vaginas Frisked During the Last Week," it states that a remarkable amount of women are actually being violated during these friskings. The ABC reporter states that she didn't expect the agent to touch her vagina through her pants, meaning, if I understand correctly, she expected the agent to touch her vagina on the inside of her pants. Wow, real blunt. To which she then replied it was much worse than going to the gynecologist. Honestly, we need to start tunneling our visions. The joke's not for everyone. I understand that it's not simply affecting us just as travelers, but anyone who's involved in these planes. According to the pilots union, which represents over 16,000 pilots, it states that they'd rather have them go through these heavy invasive friskings than these high radiation devices, because they're afraid of the effects radiation can have on their bodies. One pilot was reported stating that the radiation levels were so high that he pooped out a hot pocket. Radiation levels so high, he pooped out a hot pocket. Now, if this union is afraid of the effects it can have on their bodies, what about us? Which leads me to the causes to airport security. So we'll continue to take off our garments, like our jackets, and we'll empty our pockets of our phones, our wallets, and our keys. Take off our belts. Please, join in with me as we take off our jackets, our belts. Please join in with me as we take off our jackets, our belts, and... Now, our causes are attributed to two, and that's, well, past terrorist attacks and failed past techniques. So first, past terrorist attacks. According to Jeffrey Goldberg, national correspondent for The Atlantic, he states that what we're seeing is in fact the terrorists winning. We've installed these measures for our protection, but what we're seeing is in fact they're working against us, and going against what, well, it means to be an American. I mean, do you think the terrorists are laughing right this instant? Do you know how many balls are being touched right this instant? And I ask you because I feel like you might know. 13 balls. I was hoping for an even number. Second, failed past techniques. According to the ABC article aforementioned, it states that major airports have a staggering 70% failure rate, missing guns and knives and key components to bombs. It's only a matter of time, people, before a whole nuclear arsenal is snuck onto a plane and devastates an entire major U.S. city. You can see now, this is your pilot speaking. We're flying over Chico, California. I like to party. Please stop laughing, I'm trying to give a speech. What we've seen are failures of our past techniques. I mean, 9/11, the shoe bomber, the Nigerian underwear bomber. Yeah, because that's honestly the first thing I want to leave this world. We're also seeing failures of our current techniques as well. They involve frisking your grandmothers. Obviously, the biggest terrorists of them all are watching large, fat, obese Americans struggle with their way through the screeners today. Obvious violations of our privacy. So with that in mind, let's continue our journey as we walk up to the screeners themselves and take a look at some solutions to our problems. Now, according to the Boston Globe article from 2008, it states that our solution lies in adopting a plan like that of Israel. It has one of the safest and securest airports around the world. I know what you're asking, Scooter. Well, how do we do it? Well, give me a goddamn second and I'll get to it. It's quite simple. What they do is they will ask a series of questions. They get to know their passengers. And they utilize their security cameras and look for any behavior out of the ordinary. Put simply, they train their staff to look out for anything that, well, might give them off as a terrorist. Now, how do we implement something like this into our nation? Well, it's quite simple. First, we need to get rid of these ball-touching methods and instead help the new idea of questioning. God, Willis, you're so punny. And we have to stop investing in these government molestation devices. Seriously, with a name like RAPISCAN, which I hope to God is not pronounced rapiscan. How can they be trusted? Next, we gotta do what Americans do best, make our voices heard. According to the ABC article aforementioned, it states that, well, the TSA aren't working in our favor, and they're actually hinted to be a little more invasive during their frisking. So we're more opted to go through the screeners, so we can save them time. They're putting our constitutional rights below. They're just not taking them into account. So, what do? Well, here's an idea. Let's waste their time for, well, trampling all over our constitutional rights. And instead, opt for the private friskings. Or instead, we'll go through the screeners with this in our pocket, a metal bill of rights. So when we go through that screener and it sets it off, we pull this out. We say, these are my constitutional rights, and you cannot take them away from me, for I am woman. Hear me roar. Better yet, we can do what Pres Hilton states, that is buy metallic-based printing attire. And this is attire, I hate buttons, that will actually show up during the screeners. So what we're seeing are people printing the Fourth Amendment on their shirt, stating, oh Lord, our right to privacy. Now, ladies, I know what you're saying. Willis, I would never be caught dead wearing that t-shirt. But boy, do I got news for you. What we have here is, in fact, women sticking it to the government and saying no to those U.S. government molestation devices. We need to stand up for our genitalia, because they most certainly have stood up for us. And I tell you what, I will not let my penis down. So today we took a look and examined airport security by taking a look at the problems, causes, and a couple solutions. I mean, I could easily be an agent. Well, jiggle your testicles and fondle your breast and get away with it. And honestly, that is not okay. So, well, I wound up at the airport, half naked, and I thought to myself, and I said, you know what, this time I think I'm going to take that van ride back to Chico, California. But this time I think I'll take those laxatives on my own time. In addition to that, I think I'll give my teammates a private frisking they won't soon forget.
That was exciting.